there's a lot of clashing and banging and Ben Bird in there.
Yeah.
So if we're going between takes and stuff, it'll be hidden pretty well.
The only concern that one might have is that you may want a version without the chorus, but I don't know if you even want to contemplate that.
I love the chorus.
It gives it that churchy.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's going to work. I mean, you didn't realize this, but it really goes into the third film very well, and I think it'll be an important thing to reprise. I mean, that definitely has the quality of the inevitable fate of doom, you know, with larger hands at work.
Chorus people, welcome to you. Thank you for coming. Welcome to this process of making Star Wars. Our director is back in the booth here somewhere, is George Lucas. And I'll thank you for him also. Glad you're here. We're going to begin today's work with the woodwind setting at 33. Just winds, please, 33. 1, 2, 3. You know what I think I would like better if the contra plays first and third beat only, and short. Do it again, please, people. 1, 2, 3, 4.
On the original films, I was looking for somebody who really understood classical movie scoring. And I was talking to Steve Spielberg about it, and he had worked with Johnny on Jaws and said, you know, this is the man for you. He's perfect. He really understands that medium. And once I worked with him on Star Wars, you know, I wouldn't have anybody else doing it.
I've been uniquely fortunate to continue to accompany George on this great journey that he's on, which seems now to be a life's work journey. He probably rang me a year ago to tell me that the time was coming, that his script was going to be ready, and that he was about ready to shoot the film, and that the music would be needed by such and such a time in the calendar. And then I would get another phone call 2 or 3 months later, and he would fix a spotting date where we go in a dark room and talk about where the music is going to go and what it should do, etc.
Then it goes from that into religioso force. Yeah. It just has to be something that kind of says, we're fighting back now. But I think we need to keep that kind of fighting back theme going to keep the energy up.
The great sword fight at the end of the film, the decision to make that choral was just the result of my thinking that it should have a kind of ritualistic or quasi-religious feeling to it, if you like. And that the introduction of a chorus might be just the thing.
1, 2, 3. People, I think always kora, ratama, all of that. I've chosen these Sanskrit words because of the quality of the vowels. Do it again, please. See how pure a choral sound you can get. Don't force it. So. That's better. Chorus. 1 second, Sean. Oh, we have pitch, please. And quiet with the pages. 33, 1, 2, sing. And see if we can have the sound less disturbed by still improved intonation. You'll hear a lot of beating in that. I will take it, please.
The medium of chorus and orchestra would give us a sense that we're in a big temple.
It's a wonderful piece of music with the choir and the whole. It's very operatic and very much like Star Wars.
6M7 new, take 106.
Johnny really understands movie music. It's not just music laid in there, it actually tells the story. It's the little old lady reel.
Yeah, this is where there's the big knock at the projection booth door with the umbrella handle.
Young man, what do you think you're doing up there? You're gonna blast all ears out. I think it could be reasonably extreme. You know?
It goes from, even the pass-by shots go from no sound to loudest sound you ever heard to no sound within the same shot.
Well, see what you can do with it and see what happens.
Ready, set, here. Get your ears ready, kind of starts
Quietly. When Bulba comes right up behind Anakin, it's almost like this Bulba sound should be making go up and down, but it should always be there. Now it's there when you see it, it's not there when you don't. But you want to build that tension of the fact that it's right on his tail there, and if you don't hear it, you don't really get the sense that it's right there all the time, and it's going to eat him up.
Yeah.
You know, and if anything, that giant sound should be getting bigger and bigger during the whole thing as he's, struggling to stay ahead of him.
It's a nice rhythm.
Because that's the thing that you're afraid of, is the fact that that guy's just going to push him.
Yeah.
You know, the engine's going to come right over and right into his head. It's come a long way over the last 2 years, that little sequence.
It's not a little sequence anymore.
The deflector shield is too strong.
This movie doesn't even exist until it's finished, because it's a fantasy and because it doesn't exist anywhere else. It needs that seamless quality to make you believe in what's going on. And one of the most powerful factors is the soundtrack. The sound effects to make everything believable and make it real and tangible like it actually exists. And the other is the music to give you the emotional cues and the strength that it needs to propel it along.
There's fantastic visuals created for these films. Obviously, there's great characterizations and wonderful ideas in terms of how things look and how things move. But without the sound, those things fall flat.
Well, the magic of a movie like this is so strong that people don't realize how much of the sound is manufactured from scratch. Every detail of the soundtrack has to be thought of, has to be recorded, the dialogue, the sound effects, the music. It has to be, because so much of the world, so much of the sound world doesn't exist and certainly didn't exist on the set.
If in fact either George or I or any other ADR editor determined that those tracks are not appropriate for either technical reasons or performance reasons, we then call that actor back into a quiet looping stage where we re-record their dialogue in sync with the cut picture.
Isn't he great? He's not finished yet. Isn't he great? He's not finished yet.
Phantom Menace was unique because not only did we have live action characters that needed to be looped for various creative and technical reasons, but we also had a whole slew of digital characters that needed to be recorded for the first time.
Whack-eye Slimo! Whack-eye Slimo! Whack-eye Slimo!
Usually there's about 1,000 different recording projects on each Star Wars film. I've been building up a library of sound for the past 25 years, ever since the first film, when I roamed into the desert to tap a radio tower guy wire to get the sound which became the basis for all the laser guns. Many sounds are created from everyday objects. For instance, if you take an electric razor and a salad bowl and run the razor around inside the salad bowl, you get a wonderful resonance of a sound, which became the sound for the entire battle droid army coming over the mountain. I wanted to create a special sound for the Queen's Starship engines. I found that sound in Alaska. I recorded a glacier breaking apart and the ice falling into the sea. I used it for the backfiring of the Queen's ship as it lands on Tatooine. One day I got a call from a neighbor who said that his ceiling fan in his apartment was making a funny noise and I should come over and record it. I immediately ran over and recorded this oscillating motor, which had a funny sort of beating sound to it. But I found a really interesting use of that sound as the force field in the beam corridor. The sound you hear there is really just a broken ceiling fan.
You're under arrest.
When we were doing the battle droids, we used a mop wringer and a tortilla maker. And that was for the movements that they did, for their arms and their legs as they moved and as their torso twists and turns. We had a lot of fun with the Gungan movement, where we had to do jowls moving. We used a hot water bottle for his jowls. One of the things in Foley is that we record a lot of really quiet sounds. It's much richer with Foley because of that. One of the things that comes to mind is with Queen Amidala, her headdress. We made a sound for the little beads that are on her headdress. There's one scene where she comes out of her room and they're just tinkling very quietly, but enough so that you hear them, and it just really sells her presence.
We will tell her for you. We will show her how it goes with you.
Thank you, Your Highness.
During the editing of the film, we always create temporary mixes. We experiment with music, we experiment with sound effects and voices, and we do a lot of the activity of developing the sound that many filmmakers really postpone until the very end of the process.
There, it's more important, I think, that it be in the distance, you know, where we get something that reverberates. So you hear it go. I like the choppy sound on that one thing where you go by the engine is good, but I think in this other thing it's better if we use just more traditional stuff.
So there's two things going there for Anakin. You've got there's a which is a high-speed gear shift like on a Porsche, and then there's a which is just on top of it.
People think that sometimes mixing is purely technical. You just add together the things that become the final mix, but we usually find out final mix is a subjective process where you choose which things are necessary to hear and what balance seems to work best between music, between sound effects, between dialogue. Very often a final mix is not a process of adding things together so much as having everything we've done so far and little by little taking away those things that aren't doing us any good and choosing the strength, the elements of the sound mix that we want.
I think the first telemetry inside the pod there when he gets in trouble is a little hot. It's when he pulls out.
He starts it up and we'll put our Ferrari off to the right.
Yeah.
There's a bit of a gap. Then there's that overhead shot of Anakin.
In a final mix, the people in the room have to communicate what their thoughts are about sounds. There are a lot of words to describe what we see, very few words to describe what we hear. So it's very impressive to see how this room full of professionals gets around this dilemma.
Cut it right as the loudest sound. Yeah. Hit. You're like, Your finger.
The sound, in my opinion, is what brings the film to life. The sound binds images together. The sound can create a world beyond the frame. It can extend the width of the world that we're in, and you can hear things around you and off screen, and therefore add an even bigger sense of scale to what's already there visually. It's been said that hearing is believing, and that's quite true with the Star Wars films.